Diogo Tavares, welcome to the Ross Report.
Hey, Miss Carol, it's good to see you.
Good to be with you. Now, I told people all the time to go to your Facebook page because it's very impressive. So I want you to tell the listeners a little bit about you and give them some of your background.
Yeah, so I'm an immigrant, came to this country legally as a 6-month-old, and my mom left everything she knew and everyone she knew, and fled Angola after it gained independence from Portuguese colonization. And I was born, and 6 months later we came to the U.S. Now, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and um, for about 3 years lived in Canada. My stepdad worked for the city of Ottawa, and learned French second, spoke Portuguese at home, and didn't learn English until just before coming back to the
Portuguese is one of
U.S.
the hardest languages. I have tried. It is
That's what I
difficult.
hear, but I speak it.
Oh, of
It's my
course, you
first
heard it as a
language,
baby,
so
yeah. But go
but
ahead.
but yeah, so college educated in New Jersey, went to Seton Hall University and got a degree in political science. And when I turned 18, I got a letter in the mail saying it was time for me to come back to Portugal and do my mandatory 3 years of service. And I decided instead I was going to serve this country. And so I became a U.S. citizen, went through ROTC and joined the U.S. Army. Retired 3 years ago after running the ROTC program at UL. And I did 2 tours to Iraq and one to Afghanistan.
Wow, thank you for your
I
service.
appreciate that. It was I would do it all over again. It was an honor to serve this country who's given me so much opportunity. And when President Bush passed away, we learned a lot more about the man that we didn't know about him. And so I think he struggled after coming back from World War II with what was his purpose in life. And as a service member, I think we all struggle with that when we separate from service. It's not a very easy transition. And so, how do I continue to serve this country? And so, um, I thought, well, maybe public office might be something for me. And here we are. And the school board seemed appropriate. I've got children in the public school system, and it kind of hurts me to know that Louisiana's down at the bottom. And so, how do we change things and make Louisiana move, to a more respectable spot?
I love that story. Your life story is really so impressive. We're going to take a break and come back, and we are going to talk. Are we supposed to take a break now? No, we're okay. We can keep going. Okay, we're going to talk about your plans and why school board. I mean, I know you said you have children in the public school, but this is a difficult. This is one of the toughest jobs in public office.
It,
School board. You have so many constituencies beating up on you.
yeah.
you know.
Look, it is, and I've never been one to walk away from a challenge. In the military, I always wanted the hardest jobs because I wanted to be able to show that I could do it, and I think a lot of it is proving it to myself as well. And so, why the school board? Well, I want to serve locally, and I think children have a special place in my heart. I've been involved with scouting for 25 plus years as an adult. I'm an Eagle Scout, and the program did a lot for me. And so I watch our young boys turn into good young men, and now we're allowing girls into the program, and I think it'll be I think it's going to be phenomenal for girls because they can use the same
Hmm.
leadership skills that we're teaching our
Right.
young
It really
boys.
is a leadership program.
Yeah, and so I mean, what other program in America can you take kids, throw them in the outdoors, and they just learn all kinds of stuff about themselves and build confidence in themselves? And
Self discipline.
yeah, it's a leadership laboratory, right? And so as a child, I was able to um, talk to peers and older kids and younger kids, and so you get to feel out what your leadership style is. So it's a great program, and I've been involved in it for 25 plus years as an adult. I serve on the executive board here in Evangeline Area Council, and recently was asked to serve as area commissioner for Area 1, which goes from Pensacola, Florida, Lake Charles, up to Jackson, down
Wow.
to New Orleans. And it's a volunteer
That's a
position.
huge area.
It is, but I believe in this program, and I think there is no other youth program in America that's better than what scouting is doing for our youth.
Can you take some of those principles and apply them in the schools, in a public school setting?
I think you can. I mean, if you look, New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey, there's a school called St. Benedict's Prep. And St. Benedict's is a high school that serves generally lower class minority
Hmm.
students in lower income areas, socioeconomically deprived kids. And the brother that runs the school actually uses the Scout handbook to put the kids out into the wilderness and allow them to work through the confidence building and work together as a team. And then during assemblies, the children that are in leadership roles in the school run those assemblies. And that's what scouting is all about. And so I think you can apply a lot of those principles. I tell parents all the time, scouting teaches you three big principles, right? Duty to God and country, duty to others, and duty to self.
Ooh, that's gonna be the first one's gonna be tough in the public
Well,
schools.
I think that that may be what's missing
That
in
is
our
that is what
children.
many people believe is missing because there are many parents in the public school system who are very committed to their child's education, but there are so many restrictions from maybe some of the social niceties that should be put in there, and something like putting God back in the schools. I hear that from people all the time that all kids can benefit from some sort of spiritual component in the education, whether you want to call it God or not. But there should be something like that in the schools.
Scouting teaches our youth that you need to believe in a higher power, and we have to have faith, because if not, then we're just walking aimlessly in life. And so those are values that are brought into your life. I've been raised on the values of being a Catholic, values of scouting, the values of serving in the military, the values that my family taught me. And I think those are all very important. They're called values because they're valuable.
Yes,
And so,
because they're important.
right.
Yeah.
So,
All right, we're going to take a break and we'll come back and talk about the nuts and bolts of this, how you see the budget, rezoning programs, etc. We'll be right back with Diogo Tavares, who is a candidate for School Board District 9 on the Ross Report here. So if you want to get in on the conversation, by the way, the Raider Solutions hotline heating up 232-1542, 232-1542. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to the Ross Report. We're so pleased to have in studio with us Diogo Tavares, who is running for School Board, District 9. We wanted to talk about, we've gotten a lot about your background, very impressive. What are your plans? How do you deal with the budget? What are your plans about rezoning or special programs, et cetera?
as I walk around and I knock on doors, and by the way, my son and I have knocked on over 2,000 doors. We've campaigned ourselves, and I'm pretty proud of him. He'll
Well,
call
he's
me.
getting a civics lesson right
Oh,
there, isn't he?
he's doing awesome, and he'll call me, at 5 o'clock before I get off of work and say, "Dad, are we walking today?" And I'll say, "Yeah, we're gonna go walking," and he'll say, "Okay, I'll be home ready to go with you."
Oh, that's
So
great.
he's been awesome. But yeah, I think as I knock on doors, the two top concerns in my district in particular are the rezoning. This constant discussion, particularly on South Side, has got a lot of parents over anxious and stressed out, and people are moving just to be able to be in the school, district that they want to be in for the
That's a pretty
schools.
extreme thing to do,
It
isn't it?
is. I think it is, and I think we've created that animal,
Hmm.
right? And so I think that we need to figure out a way to make it work out, because we've promised these parents, and it can create a lot of other. There's a
Yeah,
snowballing effect
yeah.
to these problems. And then the second thing I hear about the most is transportation, overcrowding on the buses, children not on the buses in a safe location in a seat. So you hear all about that. And then from a teacher perspective, I really don't hear teachers complaining about how much they make. Now, granted, we know that they don't make the money they should be making, but I have not had yet a teacher tell me I don't make enough money. They've complained about micromanagement, changes in curriculum all the time,
Discipline.
discipline problems,
Ugh.
not being heard, right? And one of the things I've told several teachers is if elected, when elected, my goal is to once a month have a meeting with teachers and administrators and allow them to come and talk to me as a school board member. Because if I want to know, I had a general officer one time say, if I want to answer my own questions, I can look in the mirror every day. But if I want the truth, I just want you to tell me what you
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
And so I think it's important for our teachers to
That's a
have
good
a
approach
voice.
because I don't think people listen to the teachers enough.
No, they do
They're
not.
usually the last ones that are talked to about anything. And I said this to the gentleman who was in before you, your opponent, Mr. Goche, that you hear all the time that they're told they're teaching to the test. There's a new thing that comes down from on high,
Hmm.
whether it's No Child Left Behind or Race to the Top or Every Student Succeeds or Common Core. And so many times they don't ask the people who are on the front line, what do you think about this
Right.
program?
When I was in the military, every time we developed a plan, we would always go down to our lower entities and say, "Hey, do you
The
think
frontline
this? Yeah,
guys.
do you think this will be successful?" And get their input. They're the proverbial boots on the ground every day, talking to people, trying to win the war. And if we don't listen to what they have to say, they understand the customs, the cultures, everything that's going on. And if we don't listen to them, then we may be failing in our plan.
I've noticed, and people have talked about this all the time. For anybody to make a substantially more money, they usually have to go into administration, and so usually some of the top teachers, some of the most experienced teachers, end up in administration where they should be on the front line, as you say, boots on the ground,
Right.
the really experienced teacher teaching those kids. Is there any way to reverse that trend and really give additional money to the teachers, especially into the schools that are challenged? I hate to say failing, but schools that are, in maybe disadvantaged areas and have more kids who need extra help. Is there any way to reverse that trend and really make it worthwhile for an experienced teacher, a master teacher, to stay in the classroom?
I think there are, and we have to look at that and figure out, listening to our teachers, what do they think? How do they think the plan should work, right? They've been experienced enough. Some teachers, it's not that they're bad teachers. It just gets to a point where you've dealt with discipline problems, that things have
You
changed
get
from when
burnt
you
out.
first came. Yeah, you get burnt out and you want something different. And so, how do we utilize that teacher's talents to better our system? And it may be in some administrative role where they are mentoring teachers. Certainly, we have a teacher mentor program now. Whether it's where it needs to be, I don't think it is. We definitely need to teach more leadership to our administrators who are principals in the schools, because there's two types of administrators. You've got the folks up in the bubble who have lost touch with
Yeah.
reality, and then you've got the administrators that are in the schools that are
Mhm.
running day to day operations. And I think there definitely has to be a way to reward the teachers that want to stay in the classroom and continue to provide to our youth.
Now, you mentioned transportation as one of the key problems. How would you deal with that? How would you solve that problem of transportation?
Yeah, Hubert talks about finding a third party to do that, and I think that's a great idea. It's really trying to look at how much money we're spending doing it ourselves. What can we
Well, you have a
truly get?
hybrid now, right? You have some that are
There
school board
is.
run and some that are private contractors. It seems to me that that just kind of keeps everything off balance. It doesn't really seem like an easy thing to manage.
No, because you're managing two entities now, right?
Hmm.
And I think the other problem is sometimes, and having been in government, you see how government gets fleeced, right? They get charged a lot more money for something because we think that they're the government and they can pay it. And I don't think that that's fair to our taxpayers. And the good example is Southside School, right? I mean, we built this school and it was over budget. And we look at what the charter school did and how much they spent on their school.
Hmm.
What are the things that are really necessities? Do we need a coffee shop in the cafeteria? Do we need a huge library? You know, I keep talking about using the resources that we have within our parish. We have a great library system. So why not build smaller libraries in the school, provide tablets or whatever to all the students, allow them to download books on those tablets, and if they want a book to read, a physical book, then go to the library and ask for one to be delivered from the public
Well,
library.
the public library has a deal with any student who has a card from Lafayette Parish school system has access to the library.
Correct.
That's a great combination there.
Right.
So I noticed in the South Side School, I don't want to. It's a beautiful school.
It
It's a
is.
beautiful, and so it's the shiny new object, and everybody wants to
Correct.
be there. But it seems to me there's a lot of wasted space. I mean, anybody will tell you a hotel with an atrium, it's a lot of wasted
It
space.
is.
And this has got an. I mean, it's like an atrium, big open area. Why are we putting portable buildings there when we have Como that is underutilized, North Side that is underutilized, Lafayette that's overcrowded, Lafayette High, and so it just seems to me that there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of rezoning.
So are we trying to win architecture awards or are we trying to educate our children, right? And that's ultimately what we need to look at is how do you use the space wisely? So
Okay, all right. So we're getting down to the wire. Your information. How can people get in touch with you? And your closing comments.
yeah, so www.godiogogo.com. You can get there either spelling it the Cajun way or the
Hmm.
normal way. And
Well,
my
tell them to go
Facebook.
to your Facebook page because really that's charming. That beautiful family of
Yeah,
yours. I mean, that's
very proud of my family.
yeah.
They've supported me through the years and everything I've done. My
Hmm.
wife is we've been married over 17 years, and our kids have been troopers. Caleb was in 3 schools in 5 years when we moved here, so moving around with the military all the time. So I know what it's like for folks to be rezoned constantly. Although mine was a decision based on my career, the children in our parish are being moved around because where they live, and so I think that plays on their social
Hmm.
aspect. I think it plays on them from a discipline standpoint, from a friendship standpoint. There's a lot of things that it affects children when they're constantly moving around, And I've heard from some children on the campaign trail. But my Facebook page is Go Diogo Go, spelled the Cajun way, and it's Diogo Tavares. And yeah, I encourage folks to go like it, share it with their friends and family. 119 is my number on the ticket. I encourage you to vote for me. Um, Email me. I'm certainly
All
willing to
right.
chat and talk with anybody.
All right, Diogo, thanks so much for coming in. Diogo Tavares, candidate for School Board District 9. There are 3 candidates in that race, and we've spoken to 2 of them, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much. I
Thanks.
appreciate your
Good luck
time.
to you. All right, we'll be right back on the Ross Report. 232-1542. You want to get in on the conversation.